Let's start today's session. Um, Om Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo, Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat, Para Brahma, Tasmai Shri, Gurave Namaha, Akhandamandalakaram, Vyaptam Yena Characharam, Tatpadam Darshitam Yena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. नमस्ते शारदा देवी काश्मीरपुरवासिनी विद्यादानं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा ओम श्री सद्गुरुदेवाय नमः. All right. So, do you have anyone has assignment to show? I think one assignment. Um, Anupama
Yes,
ji.
Navalji.
Give us some more time, Dhavalji. I will also finish it.
Okay. Okay, but we can still go through the one that
Okay.
Anupama ji has done. Share my screen.
Dhavalji, why am I not able to share that JSBin link? When I am sharing it, not all the CS styles are not coming there. Why is it so?
What styles are not coming?
Only half of the styles, CS styles, and the changes I have made in HTML that were not coming in the link that I generate.
Yeah, I think it is sometimes it happens. So you can just try and create a new JS bin and paste all of the content there,
Okay.
and it might work. So, but for now, what I will do is I'll just also copy this into a JS bin. Um, I actually saw your JS bin as well yesterday. So on the outset, it looked fine. I don't have much comments to begin with for the assignment. Wow, this is very interesting. So it has converted all of them into encoding. Okay, and the CSS. All right. So let's see what's going on. So this is the offer block section. You have made display block. That's great. I would also suggest one more thing, display flex you have made. I would also suggest list style none, but it's fine if you don't know the syntax. What we want to do, here is make it look like a normal div blocks. So, what you don't need to worry too much about here is the syntax. If you are working with something like Bolt, you can instruct that make it look like boxes. Or, if you don't know the syntax and you want to make it look like boxes yourself, then you still know what to ask to ChatGPT or Google. Okay, you need to ask that I have a list which I want to make it look like boxes. So it will tell you the syntax. Okay, as long as you know what is going on, you can always find out the syntax. Okay, so I would not worry too much about knowing or not knowing this syntax, but what is the intention should be very clear, that we want to make this look like normal boxes. Then there is a table border column. Okay.
Actually, this isn't how it looks like in the as a wireframe provided. Dhavalji, it is only column wise margins are there. I could not create it.
What do you mean by that?
There are no horizontal lines. There were only vertical lines.
In the table?
Table, yeah.
Okay, yeah, don't worry too much about it. Yeah, just a minute. Huh? Okay, so I would say don't worry too much about that, the border part of things. Now, one thing that we have done here actually, offer block li strong, right? So this we have said it's a strong tag. Now, strong just means that it's a bold piece of text. If I say strong here, then it will just make this bold. Okay, it's like display it more strongly. Okay, but what we would want to use here in terms of better semantics is H3.
Okay. Huh.
Okay, H3 is a third level heading because it is still a heading of some piece of text.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And if you want to make it appear in the center, we don't need so much of things like H3 because it's already, you know, the moment we say it's H3, it's already more or less going to occupy the full space and things like that. Let me reduce the. Now you want to make it appear in the center, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you should be asking Google that I want to make a text appear in the center. Okay. I would always suggest that, you know, look up for syntax. It's not bad to look up syntax. I do that all the time, and even everybody else I know does that all the time, as long as you have clarity with respect to what you want to do. So, you know, I can say how to center text for a heading in CSS. Okay. So it can say that use the text align property. Okay. So I can say, okay, text align center. Okay. That way you are doing it, but you are also doing it correctly. Okay. Feel absolutely fine to look up syntaxes. Okay. The entire reason we are doing this whole exercise of learning is that you know the purpose and you have the clarity with respect to the thinking part of it. Okay. So text align center, border table, we have given the border here, that's good. Padding is there, text align is left. So yeah, text align is used here. Footer, let's see what's going on in footer. So footer, now this WizKids Gurukul actually is not a list item. Okay, if you look at the wireframe that we have, this is a not part of this, right? So I would suggest that we take it out from there and have it as a separate paragraph. Okay, or a separate subheading. Maybe it is H4 or H5. Okay. And another thing that we see that is going on here is there is a nav tag that is used inside a list tag. That's again something I would want to discourage. We should either use a list tag or you should use a nav tag. Okay, like what we have done here. Both are fine, but either of them should be used at once. So I would suggest that we probably better use just the nav tag. Okay, so this is working fine. Now what we need to do is these items within the nav tag, we want to make them appear like this, right? So what I will do here is that, and yeah, another thing is that since we already have a footer, you know, we don't need to worry about using a footer element within that. We can just directly target the footer tag. Okay. So here we can say footer nav display flex. And footer nav A
She figured out how to escape the tricky mirror maze. While everyone else struggled to decode the hint, she raised her hand and boldly moved forward. The moment her hand touched the mirror, she effortlessly changed direction. Using a simple trick, she cleverly navigated her way out of the mirror house.
So you can see that these are now small icons. The moment these images come, they will be looking like icons. And the other thing that I need to do here is align items or justify content center. I don't remember which one was that. Let me. Yeah. So this now I made into a flex element, and to the A tag, which within the nav element, I've given them individual height and width and made the overflow hidden. Otherwise, what was happening was it was overflowing. Actually, it is not going to be a concern because it is overflowing because of the missing icons. Otherwise, it's not even going to overflow. So this should do it. Any questions with respect to what we are doing here?
No, G, now I understood.
Anybody else?
No, Dhavalji.
Okay. All right. But very good. I think most of the things that you've taken care of, we modified the approach here and there. Overall, yeah, one more thing. We want to make this appear in one line as well. Any idea how will that work?
In columns,
Header display flex.
Yes, very good. So header should be display flex. Oh, sorry, I'm writing HTML and CSS. Okay, so this is now appearing in one line. Image actually probably should be either a background image or it should be, within here. Okay. So now this way it is appearing in one line. If I collapse this, you can see that it's all in one line. Probably to make it look better, I can say that header now. Let me first of all see what is it looking like. Okay, so it has a full height occupied. Now what I need to do is ensure that it is vertically aligned. So vertical align. So that's not working out. So what I will do now is display flex. And align items center. So this aligned them into center. I could have searched like how to align items in a div vertically. Okay. So the approach that usually we should take is that of Flexbox. Okay. Vertical align middle does not work for everything. So if you read through the answers, it will say that, the way it should be done is display flex and align item center. See, this way you will also keep on learning more. about syntax and how things work. Now that you know how you should structure things, how you should approach things and all, then it is about just looking up how to do this activity, whether you ask to Google, whether you ask to ChatGPT, or tell Bolt to do it. It doesn't matter, but your learning process will continue. All right.
Yes, Ji.
Okay, let's move on to our JavaScript. Core fan. All right. JavaScript. This one, no. No, I need to dig it down. So any questions with respect to what we did with React yesterday?
No, Ji.
Okay, it keeps on, see, when it keeps on happening here as well, it forgot all the code for React and our data structure algorithm. But basically, what we want to learn in React is UI equal to f of data. It's nothing but functions, but a special kind of function in which you can also write HTML. Okay, that's the magic that React brings. And by the definition of how functions work, if you update the data, it will return the updated UI. So if the function is looking like const person, or let's say student profile equal to student data. Okay. Return div. Now, one rule of React is that you should always return tags within a container. Okay, it can be a div. If you don't want to use a div, you can just use an empty container like this. But you have to use a container. You cannot directly start writing, say, H1 and P and this thing. You cannot have multiple containers returned within one component. Okay, one function. In React terminology, the function is called a component, UI component. Okay, so you cannot, one UI component cannot directly map to multiple HTML elements. Okay, it has to map to only one at a time, although the elements can be nested. That means outside I should have one container, whether it is a div container or it is a main container or it is an empty container, doesn't matter, but it has to have a container. Okay, so that is one thing. And here I can say H1 student data dot name. So values are indicated by curly braces. You know, if I want to access a value of the received arguments, I have to use curly braces. That will put the value of that argument here. Student data dot description. So this will be a sample React component. Okay. You give in some data, it returns some output. All right. Now, one or two more important concepts here. Like in your functions, you have variables going on, right? You can say const result equal to x plus y. In the same way, even within React functions, you can have variables. They are ordinary functions. You can do whatever else you do usually in other functions in React functions as well. So you can have variables going on, const, uppercase name equal to string dot to upper case, or actually student data dot name dot to uppercase. Okay. So what I'm doing, I'm converting the student data dot name into an uppercase name and storing it into a variable. And I can access the variable here. Clear? This works pretty much like other functions. I can use the values that are created within functions and use them here in the HTML. Okay. Any questions here? Okay. I can also create variables which can do more things than that. Const has passed equal to student data dot marks greater than 35 dot subject dot marks greater than 35. Okay. So has passed will have true or false. Okay. And I can say has passed now has passed will have true or false, right? But we don't want to show true or false to the users. To users, what would we want to show? Yes or no. Clear? So what I will do, let has passed be a variable. Okay. If student data dot marks greater than 35, has passed equal to yes. Else has passed equal to no. Clear? And now I am saying use the variable has passed. What it will show here?
Yes or no?
Yes or no. Okay. Otherwise, it would have shown true or false. So like you can use variables within your functions, you can also use variables here. Okay. And the most important part of React components is that you have to use the same approach that you use in functional programming. where you are composing functions using smaller functions. Okay, that way it will start making sense even when you are going through the code. Okay, so what does that mean in terms of React? See, once you create a function like this is a function student profile that accepts a variable called student data. Okay, that means I can use this React function or a React component within other components. Like you can use functions created within other functions, right? Now I can use this function within other functions. That means if I say const student page equal to a function which also receives student data, then I can say return H1 student details. Let me rename this to H2 here. Okay. And then I can say student profile student data equal to student data. So I'm passing in this property. Okay, this is the way I should indicate it here, so that we indicate that we receive a property called student data. Okay, so this is the way I can directly refer to a React component or a function. So the way we are able to compose the function mathemagic here with other functions, in the same way, I am able to compose my UI using smaller components. Otherwise, what will happen if I don't do it that way? It will be one big component. Does that make sense? This will be a very big component containing everything. And with the facility that we get with React, we are able to define custom elements, okay, which speak the language of the problem that we are trying to solve. Much like we are able to define custom functions which speak the language of the problem we are trying to solve, in the very same way, we are able to define small components which make intuitive sense with respect to the UI which we are trying to build. Okay, so now suddenly what will happen? We can say student page title. Then we can say student profile picture. Then we can say student details. Then we can say student marks. Things like that. We can divide our UI into small parts where individual parts, render small portions of the UI. At the end of the day, it will still render the HTML based on what it is rendering. Okay. If we say student profile picture, then it will render an image tag. Okay. If we say student details, then it will render the student name and some other student details. Student marks will be responsible for rendering the marks of the student. Okay, each of these receives student data. So does this make things more easy to read and easy to reason, and they are divided more structurally and logically? Okay, or we can, for here we can define like picture equal to student data dot image. Okay, student details, student data dot details, student marks, marks equal to student data dot marks. So whatever are the different smaller aspects of our data structure, let us define this data structure so that it brings more clarity. Student data details title, image, marks. So it has all these sections in our data structure. Okay, and we are passing all those small sections of data to, yeah. This way we are also reducing the complexity of our work and have each small unit solve a small problem and have a very small responsibility versus this function having a very big responsibility of doing anything and everything. We are distributing that across different small components having a single responsibility. What is the responsibility of page title? Render the page title. What is the responsibility of profile picture? Render the profile picture. What is the responsibility of details? Just show the details. What is the responsibility of marks? Just show the marks. So this way, we are, composing our UI like we are composing our function. Clear? Each of this being a React function. Any questions here?
Not
Does
for
this
now,
make
Ji.
sense?
Yes.
The whole idea here is to be able to think about our UI, not just in terms of tags. Okay, like I will use h1 tag, h2 tags, h3 tags. They are being used here anyways. When it is finally given to the browser, that is what browser will see. Browser does not worry too much about all these names. Okay, but for us to first of all even see a big piece of code, we are not seeing that okay, h1 is there, h2 is there, divs are there, table is there. What we are seeing rather, we are seeing very logical portions of the UI, sections of the UI. Okay, this is our student page title. Okay, this is our student profile picture. This is our student details. Now, if I drill down into that component and go to that component, I will see, okay, this is the HTML code that is used. Clear? Okay. Let us see if we have any of our exercises. Yeah. So here we have our HTML. Okay, but they are all divs and li and ul and all. They are still semantic, but you know, in order to see what is going on here, I have to still go through a lot of code. Versus what React will come and do? It will create an offerings component here, which will be responsible for rendering this UI. It will create an introduction component here, which will be responsible for rendering this. Okay, it will create a fact sheet component, which will be responsible for rendering the fact sheet. And it will create a FAQ component, which will be responsible for this. Which is more readable when I want to work with this in isolation?
Yeah.
If I see this to begin with, it's a much better way of doing things, right?
Yes, Noj.
Okay, there is introduction, offerings, fact sheet, and FAQ.
Yeah.
Okay, and if I go to introduction component, I will see the HTML code for introduction. If I go to offerings, I will see the HTML code for offerings. Clear what is React doing here? It is allowing you to speak the language of your content. That this is actually an introduction section. This is an offerings section. This is a fact sheet component. And this is a FAQ component. Clear? At the end of the day, it makes your life easier by allowing you to define these kind of components. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So we'll proceed to the next thing. I will cover async tomorrow. I don't want to introduce async concept today. It will derail us, and you know, it's a little bit complex to understand. But I'll proceed with map, filter, and reduce today, where we were pausing earlier. So we said const a equal to 4, 5. Now I want to say const b equal to a dot map, and I'll define a function square here. N return n square. And if I say a dot map square, what does it do?
Each element it gives the square.
The resultant array that I get in B is a squared array. Nothing happens to A, okay? A stays as it is. A stays like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But B, we get a new array which is 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. So essentially speaking, map is a way of transforming the array from a given value to a new value. Okay. From the given values, I can transform the array to a new kind of array. Okay. Now, where is this useful? Okay. For example, student marks equal to student data subjects equal to student data dot subjects. Okay. Now you will see practical application of map here. Map is all about processing the data. Okay. One, we learned data structures in our JavaScript, arrays and objects. Map, filter, and reduce is about processing that collections, processing those arrays. Okay. How will we use map in the context of UI most of the times? Okay, I'll show you. Student const, student marks equal to subjects. So I'm receiving an object called subjects, and I'm saying that return. Now here I will say subjects is an array, right? There are multiple subjects, and what we want to do, show marks of those subject. Okay, so let us say subjects is like this. Subjects is, each subject has a title, science, and marks 50. Title, math, marks 70. So let's say this is the student data subjects. Okay, it's an array where we have details of each of the subject, title and marks. So now what I will do here is I will create a UI array, const mark list or marks list equal to, now subjects is an array, right? Subjects
yes.
dot map. And what I want to do in that, I want to define a function. Let me, create a separate function for better readability. Const subject mark equal to a function which takes in one subject detail object and returns me something. Now, what does it return? It returns me a list object with this details. Subject dot title and so given a subject, it returns an li. Okay. So I say that subjects dot map function subject mark. What I will get in marks list? In the square mapping, what did we do? Map the square function to A. So it returns a transformed array with all the numbers squared. So we are transforming the subjects array here using this function subject mark. Now what does subject mark function return?
Title and marks.
Going to show the title and marks for each.
Yeah, but it returns React element. Okay. Rather than returning some normal element, it actually returns some HTML code within JavaScript. Okay, it returns a React element. So what does it return actually? Li. It's returning our Li list item code. So what I will do here now, and marks list will contain what now? It will contain a list item entry for all the subjects. Is that clear? Okay. First, it will go to this item. It will create a list item for that title, marks. Then it will go to this one, create a list item for that title, marks. So our resultant array will look like this. Subject marks will look like this. First entry is Li, title science, and marks 50. Okay. Second entry is Li, title math, marks 70. So our subject marks list array contains two list items. It's an array actually at the end of the day. Clear? We transformed this data into UI. And here what I will say, UL. So I'll create an unordered list and I will say marks list. So what React will do now here? It will put this here. Any questions here? Did you get what I am trying to do?
Not very much clear, Dhavalji, but I'll go through the recording once more and
No, it's okay. You know, it's good that you are calling it out. Let me simplify this, okay? Let me not even go this much deep here. Okay, let us say we have an array. Let me.
Dhavalji, it's better you compare what happens without React and with HTML, how we can display the marks, and with this React map elements, what is the difference? That if you can compare, then I think it will be easy.
Sure. So yeah, let me first show you what's happening here to make things easier for you. Let's say const array equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let me just say Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and so on and so forth. Okay, let this be an array. Okay, now I am saying const days equal to a.map, which takes in a function. Okay, const generate day element equal to a function which, given a day, returns me a list item element for that day. Okay. Now I am using this function for mapping, generate day element. So what does it do? It goes over each of the entries of this array. A.map, because we are mapping this array, goes over each of the entries of A. Like in square, it was going over each of the entry of
numbers.
Okay.
That array.
Now what does it say? For a given number, return what?
Square.
Square of the number. Here, what does it say? For a given day, what do you return?
A list of the day.
A HTML element which is Li element for the day. Okay. So now in my days array, what I will have? I will have Li Sunday. Okay. Then I will have Li Monday. I will have Li Tuesday. And so on and so forth. Okay. Whatever are the elements of the A. So this way I transformed the data. Here I was doing what? Transform data into data. Okay. Transform my numbers into numbers. I'm squaring them. Okay. But this is very dynamic. Okay. Like JavaScript is very dynamic. What I'm doing here, I'm transforming data into UI. Okay. I'm creating Li items out of my data. There is no other possible way of creating a list item out of your data. There can be like 500 entries into this list. Will you go ahead and create manually all of the list items?
No. Yeah.
This can be a very big array, right? It can
Yes.
be
Yes.
thousands of items. With this code, what you will do? Create an Li entry for each of them. Okay. And it can differ all the time. Let's say you are getting this information from server. Okay. It can differ time to time. It can be a student profile. But what this will do? Take in that student profile and convert it to some HTML code. Now what I am doing here is I am saying days. So it's creating a UL, and inside that it's putting all the list items. So what did we actually do here? We converted our data into UI programmatically. Okay, we converted the data into UI programmatically. Given this data, we produced UI. And this technique is already there. What you did here is actually React only. But what you learned in the process is something called map. Okay, map is a particular facility in which you can transform an array. Does that make sense?
Yes, G.
So in the same way, when we did marks list, what did it do? For the marks of a student,
Subject and marks
of
the student,
it's creating Li. Okay. So now that marks list, we are actually putting here. Student marks. Okay. Sorry, marks list. Subjects dot map subject mark. So we are putting marks list here. It's going to create a list of all the marks for a given student with title and the marks. And this is how we transform an array from one value to input value to output value. And what is the transformer for the array here? Square. What is the transformer for the array here?
Mark.
subject mark.
Subject
Ah,
mark.
subject mark function. This is the transformer function. What does it do? Take in a subject and transform it into a UI. Okay, so I'm saying that transform the subjects array using this transformer, which takes in one subject and transform it into a list item. But since there are multiple subjects in this array, it will transform all of them into list items. This way I can create list in the UI. It's very important. Tables, lists, all those things can be created using this way. Okay. Any questions with respect to map?
Can you please scroll up, Dhavalji? I wanted to see that. So
Yeah.
the student mark is inside one student marks.
Yeah, it can be inside or outside. It doesn't matter.
But that
Okay.
student marks, where is it used?
So student marks is used here.
Okay. So
Student marks is a function that we have defined separately. It can also be inside, okay? All these things, whether to keep it inside or outside, it is more like our design choice.
Oh, no, I got it. That mark list is inside that itself.
Yeah.
Inside student marks only. I thought it's outside. Then I thought, how is it calling subject mark?
Yeah.
Okay. It's within the same function.
Yeah. This is only, looking strange because it has a different kind of HTML syntax, but otherwise under the hood, actually, they are functions only. Okay. They are actually functions. React is making them look like HTML so that you can easily, put them along with other HTML. You can still put a page title here. Some page title. You can mix and match. So it is easier to, reason with other HTML. But other than that, they are actually functions only. And these are variables only. Okay. But what is important is the concept of map. It is using a transformer function, which works with a single value, takes in that value and returns a transformed value. And what it does, it applies that to all the elements of the array. And you get a resultant array. So this is how you transform arrays in JavaScript or map arrays in JavaScript. This is like mapping the array A to a new array B. Any questions?
No, G, it's clear.
Clear? Okay, so I will stop it at here today. Filter and reduce, we don't want to do it today. It will confuse you, to have so many things going on in one day. But actually, since you learned map, you have also learned filter. Filter is, similar to what map does, but it does a little bit different thing. Reduce is also a similar concept. So we will learn those two tomorrow. But today again, very good progress. We transformed a list into UI. Okay. We saw both the cases. We saw transforming number array into another number array and transforming a list into UI. Okay. And more importantly, I think this you should remember. Okay, what is the purpose of React? It is allowing you to think of your UI with this level of abstraction. Okay, when we are thinking about our UI, we don't want to only think in terms of semantic HTML all the time. Okay, although that is very much important and that is what will be finally rendered to the browser. But for our communication purposes, for programming purposes, for our collaboration purposes, what we want to do? We want to think in terms of business problems. Okay, this is the introduction section. This is the offering section. This is the fact sheet section. This is the FAQ section. Now what I can do, I can say, okay, Ashwini ji can do introduction. Then offerings can be done by Rajita ji. Okay, fact sheet can be done by Anupama ji. We are now breaking down our UI into small pieces. Does that make sense?
Yes, Ji.
This is now breaking down of our UI from a programming perspective. Okay. Accessibility and semantic HTML was one end where we were breaking into, where we were doing things in a certain way because we wanted to target users. Here it is for our collaboration and teamwork. Okay, break it down, ensure it looks, more like business language. I can as well name this to some, foo bar bars. Okay, but when anybody is, either viewing this page or going in that component, they will not know what is this about. So this is more like for us to work with. And now I will say to our Bolt, okay, create a introduction component which should render a section containing header and paragraph. Create a offering component which should have a list of offerings. Create a fact sheet component which should have a table. Clear? Which should render a table. Create a FAQ component which should render a list of questions in a certain way. So this is what I am now going to instruct to Bolt. Very specific instructions. Okay. Otherwise, I am saying I want a page like this. It will create its own structure and there will be no adherence to any kind of structure. Now, if we want to distribute work within ourselves or if we want to debug it later, we are going to have problems. But if we know this concept and terminology, then we are the drivers of this entire approach. Clear?
Yes, Ji.
Okay. All right. Let's close for today. Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amrutam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Gurupyo Namaha. Harihi Om. I'll be giving the JavaScript exercise very shortly today. So please go ahead and do that. Okay, then we'll have some